views of the security issue that it might be, but maybe let's start with the fact that we still don't have a lot of information regarding this. Could this be an opportunity? Could we be taking too long to a point where Al-Shabaab could use that against us to push their propaganda?
Firstly, I need to pass my condolences and that of my family to the affected soldiers, and particularly also to the family of the Kenyan nation. The Honorable Rachel said they're passing this to the affected families, and I thought Kenya is an affected family as well. Mm-hmm. So we also are stakeholders in this, and so pole to every one of us. Secondly, me and you Friday tried to grapple through the scanty information we had, and now we know, even as of this morning, I was at BBC and they played a clip of a Kenyan soldier that is supposed to have been recorded, from a hostage taken. And Al-Shabaab is already using that as a propaganda too. Is actually, they made the soldiers say how they were found sleeping. The whole idea, of course, I mean, you guess there was a gun on his head to be able to say that. He was threatened. He was saying. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you tell soldiers to say they were sleeping? Soldiers don't sleep, you see, they rest. And to the insinuation that they were sleeping means they were reckless, they were not alert.
Caught unawares.
The issue is about embarrassing Kenya and KDF, which I don't think really is the case. But yes, if we take long in this search, rescue, and recovery, then Al-Shabaab takes longer. I mean, or rather gets the fun of mocking us and using propaganda. You bet they have made videos already. It's known these days that Al-Shabaab attacks with a cameraman and camera crew, in tow. And they have recorded this attack. One of these days in the future, you'll see a video popping online, on how they butchered KDF soldiers and Somali National Army soldiers. On Friday, me and you talked about Somali National Army base being under attack. And later on, now we got to know that even KDF base was under attack. The implication at the time was that KDF rushed in to help their brothers in SNA, but now we know both camps were under attack, like the Chief of Defense Forces has said. Yeah, so it's a sad moment.
Is the delay of information coming out an opportunity for Al-Shabaab to use that negatively?
Yes, they're using it already, and I think maybe Kenyan forces need to beef up, more troops in this area and conduct, a lightning speed kind of operation. Mm-hmm. I know, of course, the terrain in the area challenges that kind of operation. The lethality of those men, we should be able to get intelligence on how many they could be, where they could be. For me, one of the questions I ask is, when I was in the Air Force, I remember our pilots used to do night navigation. And night navigation was not just about flying in the air at night. It's about combat, at night. And, strong questions will linger. And I'm sure once we are done with this morning, tough questions will be asked. We will ask very tough questions. We will ask, where were the Air Force fighter jets? Where were the air cavalry, combat helicopters? What happened at this hour in the night? Or maybe when Al-Shabaab, got into the camp, then it became tactically impossible for Air Force to go in and bomb, because they could be, bombing their own brothers. Yeah. So all these questions, these camps, did we even put tripwires and maybe night flares, that would be connected with trip cables around the camp, so that in case somebody crawled in, we would see, was this an audaciously or rather courageously carried out attack by Al-Shabaab, where they didn't care, like the Chief of Defense said, that they came, to the gate, there were suicide bombers. So all these tactics, all these questions are going to come to play, and I want to ask my brothers at KDF to be ready, because these questions will come up very soon.
Now, as an expert, from an expert point of view, what are some of the impediments that they may be having so that the information is delayed? What are some of the challenges? You've talked about terrain being one of them, that could also hinder information coming out quickly. What other things could there be that would stop information flowing quickly?
And I hope this is not true, if Al-Shabaab overran the camps entirely and took control of the communication equipment, then you're done.
There's no communication.
There is that area, it's an area known not to have cell phones. Mm-hmm. And so if Al-Shabaab And really, you wonder, how swift could the attack have been, to the extent that there was no SOS sent, Save Our Souls sent, distress call sent to, KDF, to Department of Defense headquarters, and if they overran the camp and took charge of the communication, then that makes them completely helpless. And so if there's entirely no communication in the area, that's a big problem. And now, maybe the third and most critical impediment is the attitude of the community around there. Some photos we've seen online, which I don't believe are true, but if they were, I mean, you find the entire community gathering there to look at the bodies, and actually in one particular picture you see somebody in the community trying to bow to take a shot of a fallen soldier. And you ask yourself, were these community members part of this team, or could they even have participated?
How did they access the place so quickly after the incident?
Yes, we know, of course, they dragged the bodies and took them to Al-Ade, the area, I mean the marketplace for everyone to see. But then that shows the attitude of the community. Does the community see KDF as saviors or as invaders? You see, in a purported Al-Shabaab report that I've received online, they seem to call KDF and Kenyans invaders. Are we invaders or we are rescuers? The attitude of the community in this area is very important to understand, vis-a-vis that of their colleagues in Kismayu. When the Somalia National Assembly said Kenyan troops should go back to Kenya, the Kismayu community said no, they're not going to go. These are our saviors, they are protectors, we need them to keep us. Can this same community in this El-Ade area be able to say the same? If the souls and minds of the community is not with us, we have an Herculean task, my friend,
to take care of. All right, and the response from the KDF bosses, are you in agreement with them? They came out and said that we are not, of course, not relentless, but to now further attack and ensure that they neutralize the enemy completely.
I make the following comments with my heart on my hand. I do not find it very pleasing for the Chief of Defense Forces to make statements at Wilson Airport when he has a command post in Kismayu, in Sector 2. This attack happened in Sector 3, which basically should be an Ethiopian area. But this statement would have been meaningful and very engaging if he had been on the ground. Fly the CDF to the ground, surround him with the most lethal bodyguards, and have him make the statement. The statement should come out. Al-Shabaab should know the commander is in town. I bet, and I reserve my comments on this, I bet Kenyans would have interpreted this completely, entirely different, in a different way if the CDF was making this statement, not at Wilson Airport. Wilson Airport, we leave that to the minister, Rachel, and for goodness sake, she's a mother, so we would say, yeah, she's our mother, let her make this one in Nairobi. But the men and women who command should have been making this statement from some secured area in Somalia. This is part of the propaganda of war. This tells the enemy, no matter, even if you go to the gates of hell, we will find you there. And we are the bosses with the commanders. The commanders will come to the gates of hell and command their men to get you back to hell. So
his very presence would command and make his statement very valid as compared to commanding from...
Again, at great length and great pain, I made some of these statements with almost fear, because my brothers are in the KDF. I wouldn't want to be seen by my brothers in KDF like I attacked them or I didn't praise them at a moment like this. But I have a different perception. Had this maybe been General Karangi's command, it would be completely different. Karangi fought this fight from his heart. He fought this thing from his own heart, you see. We read from the stories they have written, you can tell the general led this fight from the front. So to make a statement at Wilson is awesome, but it's more awesome to make it in Somalia, and I hope they can take coup and say that little security analyst on TV, give us some advice that we can take.
That we can use.
Take the CDF on the ground and make the next statement from there. That is meaningful to this country.
Okay. Let's come back to the attack. Evidently, given the force and how lethal Al-Shabaab were. We still don't have details, but looking at what we know so far, there is evidence that there could have been some inside info from KDF. Is it possible that Al-Shabaab may have their own already filtrating the Somali National Army, or could there be what do they call them, a mole inside who is leaking information? Because for them to attack with that kind of accuracy and preciseness, they must have had a lot of information. So I think there was a statement I was reading, and again it needs to be verified, but somebody was saying that they seem to know where everything was. So evidently, if that be true, there could have been some inside info.
Yeah. See, I worked at an operation area when I was in KDF at our border with South Sudan. That time it was Sudan, and we were always at high alert because anytime Khartoum would have sent their antenna of military aircraft to drop bombs on the refugees who were running from Sudan into Kenya. Mm-hmm. And I remember we used to sleep with our guns fully loaded and an extra magazine on the side, and actually your gun was your pillow. Mm-hmm. It was such an adored item that we turned the gun to a girlfriend. We used to say your gun is your girlfriend. In fact, if you talk about gun being your girlfriend in the military, they will laugh. They know what it means.
What that means.
I mean, it has to be you sleep holding it. Mm-hmm. What was the preparedness level of this man? May they have been so relaxed? What could have informed this kind of goodness? Did they have enough ammunition for this? Mm-hmm. Now, the question you ask is intelligence. May they have been infiltrated by the enemy intelligence? Sometimes, because soldiers, when you go out there, you try to win the community to your side. May they even have maybe said, worked with some people, say employed a few guys there maybe to clean the camp or do something that actually ended up becoming the informers to the enemy? I shudder to want to think that an insider gave the information out, and I completely would like to refute such a thought that maybe a KDF soldier was brought to give the information out. I don't think our soldiers are not loyal to their country. But Al-Shabaab seemed to have information, tactical information, and you see the effect of that information. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, what then should be the response from our forces in regards to that? How do we secure and ensure that information is not leaking out? Because what other information do they have?
There's a statement in military jargon that says, no man left behind, dead or alive. First, the response should be get all our men back. Dead or alive, get them back. Now, that means a surge, a surgical operation, an immense operation, the entire military machinery, all those heavy tankers we see on national celebration days, it's time to
use them,
roll them into town. Mm-hmm. El Ade should, that city, that town, should remember that very day. And I tried to read the eyes of the CDF when he said, the blood that has been shed will be avenged. Mm-hmm. And yes, I agree with him, it should be. In military circles, in warfare, when you shed blood, blood is shed. That's the thing. You pay blood with blood. And so Al-Shabaab, or rather KDF, should roll into town. Not yesterday. I mean, not tomorrow. Yesterday or the day before, roll into town, big time. I'm sure our weapons may have been stolen. Some of our soldiers, like he said, it's a delicate operation, like the minister said, but it's not too delicate not to do it.
It needs to be done.
Yeah, needs to be done, and done swiftly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finally, before I let you go, what should we expect in terms of information as Kenyans? What is it that we should expect this week? Already we feel like we are running late and information is not coming through. What should we expect?
On Friday, me and you said, if KDF and the government and the Ministry of Defense doesn't give the information, it will still be given. The information will come from Al-Shabaab, it will come from Al Jazeera, it will come from